Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Media Pro Spotlight, where we completely turn the tables on reality as you know it and put members of the media in the spotlight instead of the other way around. My name is Dana Dobson, and I am the founder of Dana Dobson Public Relations and Copywriting and the creator of the PR Breakthrough Workshop series. My passion is working with knowledgeable folks like you to help you learn and create winning public relations programs and give you the tools you need so that you can step confidently into the media spotlight. Today, it is my great pleasure to introduce the very talented Theresa Medoff. She's an award-winning travel writer and a good friend who is an associate editor at AAA Mid-Atlantic. Her team publishes 2 bi-monthly magazines focused on travel. One of them has a circulation of 2 million people, and the other is around 100,000, both significant populations of readers. Theresa was a speaker at one of my live PR breakthrough workshops, and she gave everyone tremendous insight into what it takes for you to have a story considered by the editors of publications that have huge circulations. So here's Theresa.
Yeah, I work on these 2 publications, which I'll pass around. These are both published by AAA Mid-Atlantic. This one has a circulation of 2 million. So that's a little scary. This one goes out to 100,000. This is a new publication we just created. So I'll pass those around. So I have been a journalist for longer than I'd care to admit, mostly as a freelancer. I've also done some PR work, but I'm primarily coming at this from the angle of somebody who's getting press releases from people like you. So what I came up with started out as a top 10 recommendation, but it ballooned to top 12. So there goes my succinctness. And I've got a couple other people's recommendations for you, mostly from journalists, but from some PR people about what you should and shouldn't do when you're trying to get coverage for your event or your company or whatever it is that you're trying to interest the media in. So number 1 is know what you're talking about, okay? You have to do your own research before you contact a media person. They're going to do their own research, obviously. They're not going to rely on you. But you have to know what you're talking about in order to have any kind of story to pitch to them. So you're going to want to have facts to back it up. If you say, oh, lots of people do this, well, tell me what lots of people is. Find some research to back it up. You know, you own what do we have, a hypnotist, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So 5% of people have tried hypnotism or whatever it is, or hypnotism is growing in practice. 10 years ago, 5% of people have tried it, and now 20% of people have tried it, something like that, and have the research to back it up. So you're going to want to include things like that in your press release or your pitch letter. And if you want to know more even than is in what you send to the press, because what if they call you back and say, okay, tell me more about this? You don't want to be on the phone saying, I sent you everything I know. Okay.
Yes, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Yeah, she told me about the
You did that on purpose.
Yeah. No, I didn't actually. Before you approach the media, you're also going to want to identify the experts in your organization that they can turn to be interviewed, and you're going to want them to be people who are going to be at ease speaking to people for print, for audio, even for video. So it's not always going to be your highest level person. If you have a president of your company who does not speak well, does not present well, is not comfortable perhaps being on camera, then go to your vice president or somebody else, somebody who's going to present well to the public. What you want to do is you want to target target who you're sending to, okay? You have to do more research, not just about what you're writing your press release about, but who is going to be interested in this. You have to take the time to research which publications and which writers and editors to send your pitch to. Don't just send it to info at. That's not going to get you any response. Even editor at is often not likely going to get you a response because it's going to go in some bin email somewhere that somebody may not look at ever. You want to try and find a reporter who has perhaps written about your topic before, or someone who covers your field. You want a business reporter at the News Journal. You don't want to send it to somebody who's writing their in-depth stories on the heroin addiction or something like that.
So when you're saying to do research on that, Theresa, like say it's the News Journal, for
Right.
example, and you want to talk about, we'll just keep with Beth with hypnosis.
Can you hear this?
So say with Beth for hypnosis, so she would just look under like whoever writes about maybe health and wellness, and then
Health and wellness
find-
would be a good person to
and then
target.
just find that specific reporter on that topic.
Right,
I'm
right.
going to expand, it can also be in business.
It could also be in social,
Be
the
writing.
families,
Okay.
whatever
Wall
they
Street
call that
Journal
social
has done-
section,
has
the
done
living
research
section.
on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it could be in the living section.
So it
Would
could
it
be
be
diverse.
appropriate to actually call the publication and ask who would be the best reporter to target?
You can do that. I've done that before when I've been on the other side and trying to research who to send a press release to. They'll tell you. What you don't want to do is send broadcast mailings to everybody and everybody. We get so many press releases at our publication, and we're not the News Journal or the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post, which gets even more inundated. So you don't want to do these broadcast mailings. We get so many emails, so many press releases that have nothing to do with what we write about. Those go immediately in the trash. You're wasting your time, you're wasting our time, and you're annoying us. And if you're somebody who sends out a lot of press releases and you're a PR agency or something and you have an unsubscribe, I'm going to unsubscribe from you. And then maybe you will have something that I could write about, but I'm not subscribing to you anymore because you annoyed me by sending me things that aren't relevant. So you want to be really familiar with the publication. You want to know what they cover, what the specific reporter covers, and you want to know their deadlines. When you're dealing with the media, you have so many different deadlines to think about. You've got bloggers who might be writing right here and now. You can call them today and they'll write about it today. Maybe even the daily newspapers will be writing about it hours after you contact them. Or it could be weeks after. It depends on what kind of story it is. Then you've got the monthly magazines, and they're working months in advance. We're bi-monthly. You can't contact me now about something happening in June. That issue's already out. The May-June issue's already out. Even July and August, we're already laying out the magazine. It's done. So you have to be going months and months in advance if you want to get into a monthly publication. If you want to get into Delaware Today, you better be thinking about the fall stuff at the very least, perhaps even the winter things. So Peter Himmler is a PR exec, and I did some research online before this, and he wrote for Forbes website 2 years ago. And he talks about the growing acrimony between PR and journalists. And here are a number of reasons that he identified, and acrimony maybe is a strong word, but it's why journalists can be annoyed with PR people. Okay. So the ratio of PR people to pitchable journalists is now estimated at 4 to 1.
Wow.
So our email boxes are overloaded. As I said, I'm not terribly inundated, but I do get a lot of emails that I just hit trash, 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 trash. Then we have services like Focus. I don't know if you talked about that at all, that let you search for, or even not search, but just do a mass email. And then you've got all these stories going out to people who have no interest whatsoever in what you're trying to pitch. We have lots and lots of sources for our story ideas. So we're looking not just at press releases that are coming, we're looking at Twitter, we're looking at Facebook, people are looking at Instagram. We're following what other news agencies are writing about. We're doing our own research. We're not sitting there relying on people to come to us with the news. However, we do like that. We're always looking for stories. If you've got a great story, we do want to hear it. A lot of media relations is pushed to people who don't know what they're doing. And that leaves a bad taste in the journalist's mouth. And journalists now are trying to do so much because there are so few journalists. There have been so many layoffs. News Journal is a skeleton staff from what it used to be, and most publications are like that, with the exception perhaps of the big name daily newspapers. So they're trying to do updates all day long on the internet. They're trying to write their stories, they're trying to research their stories, they're trying to take video, they're trying to take photos. They've got to do it all, and it's very stressful. So they're going to get annoyed if they have to deal with things that have nothing to do with what they're covering. So what you want to do when you're writing your press release is keep it short, or your pitch letter. You want to keep it very short. You want to tell the person what's most important, and also why it would interest the readers or their viewers. Now, I was just talking to a PR professional who told me that one of his clients actually reached out to a Baltimore Sun columnist and wanted her to write a column about their organization. It was a garden club. And instead of talking about why the readers might be interested, she talked all about how they need coverage.
Okay.
I don't care if you need coverage, that's your problem. I'm trying to interest my readers and give them information. So tell me why what I'm doing is interesting to what you're doing is interesting and valuable for my readers. Also, we like photos. Even radio is doing video now. So what's interesting that can give us a visual image? If you've got an event that you're trying to publicize, make sure you have photos from last year's event, or set up a photo that you can take before your event happens. That's going to be a nice, interesting photo in a publication. That's going to get you more coverage in the publication, just because we need photos, we need interest, visual interests. If you're not experienced at writing press releases, and even if you are, have somebody else read it before you send it out. There was one department at Delaware State Government, I can't remember which one it was. They would always send out a press release, and 20 minutes later they would send out a correction to the press release. It was reliable that was going to happen. Proofread it before you send it out.
Do those go out by email or letter, and which is more effective?
Oh, definitely email.
Email?
Yeah, it's all done by email now. Yeah. So you want to have somebody else read your press release, your brochure, whatever it is, before it's printed, sent out, emailed, whatever. We once got this very elaborate box announcement of some event. It must have cost them $10 a piece. produced this thing. And it talked about an event, and it sounded kind of interesting, and it gave the date, and it said the high school where the event was being held. It didn't tell me a city or a state. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm not going to look it up. So make sure, and these are easy enough mistakes to make if you're not experienced at writing this. And if you know your subject, you're going to overlook things that somebody else might need to know because you know it so well. Make sure you think about your audience that you're addressing. What is the typical person going to know? Don't dumb it down, but make sure you're giving them all the information they need. You, for example, don't want to use acronyms that people aren't going to know. They're buzzwords in your organization, your industry, acronyms that everybody in your industry knows, but maybe the general public and the media don't know them because they're not in your industry. This was from my boss. He wanted to add this one. He says, don't just send an email and say press release attached. He's not going to open it.
Right.
He wants you can attach a press release, that's fine, although some people don't like attachments, but put the body of the email, put the body of the press release in the email
So they don't do it.
so they don't have to work too hard.
Viruses too, we don't want to.
People are afraid to open attachments.
Right.
And attach or no? Just
You
one
can,
or the other?
you can ask the publication if it's all right to send an attachment, but have it in the body so we don't have to
Open it.
open it.
Right.
We can scan really fast. Am I interested?
But is that something you would send after you develop the relationship versus, just saying,
Well,
say I had the conversation with somebody that I just met after I called or did research on the person to send it to. Then do I contact that person, develop that relationship, and then send it?
no, you want to send a press release first.
Okay.
Then you can call up.
Oh,
Okay, a lot of journalists will say, don't call me, don't call me, don't call me. That's not really true. What you want to do is be careful about whom you call when you call. If somebody's going on the air from 10 a.m. to noon, don't call him at 9:45. Know their schedules. When you do call, always start out with, is this a good time for you to talk? Then don't say something like, did you get my press release? Say, I sent you a press release about such and add new information. Tell me something that's happened since you sent the press release. We just learned that so-and-so is going to be the headliner at the event. And I can get you an interview with her tomorrow if you're interested. Let's see. Oh, another thing is be succinct and informative in your subject line. Don't say press release. Don't say media advisory. We know what it is. That was one of the top 10 bonehead PR mistakes that this one reporter said. Let me see what he said. Oh, media advisory. He says, I don't know what PR books people are reading, but they certainly aren't written by people who ever worked in a newsroom. Far too often, the only phrase in big bold letters is press release. We know it's a press release. You sent it to a newsroom. That's like going to the grocery store looking for toilet paper and seeing on the package toilet paper instead of Charmin. You want to tell me, what is this press release about? Because I'm probably only going to read the subject line before I decide to delete it. If you're lucky, I'll open it before I decide to delete it. So you're trying to get through the first net with your subject line. So you have to be succinct because your subject line gets cut off. right? So get the most important information up front. And if you're saying press release, you just wasted a lot of characters.
Wow. Can you give us an example, say, just yesterday, a couple that you might have received that were catchy that you opened?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. No, I
Or,
can't.
no, not yesterday, well, maybe
Well,
just recently.
yeah, I did. I had one today that was talking about the Eskimo Indian World Games. What are the Eskimo Indian World Games? I don't know. That sounded kind of cool.
So did you open it?
It was sent by Visit Fairbanks or something like that. So I did open it. And then I'm still thinking, I don't know how I could possibly use this, but then they talked about a photo they had attached of blanket tossing and how they judge blanket tossing. And I'm like, that's an event, blanket tossing? So I actually clicked on the photo to look at what blanket tossing is. And it was interesting photo. I still don't know that I can do anything with this for our publications. But, perhaps there's somebody else out there who will. But they had a whole bunch of people holding a blanket that looked like it was a big animal skin, and somebody was jumping on it. So that's blanket tossing. So that, that was different.
Wow.
And it was something I'd never heard about. Yes, it was like a trampoline made out of animal skin that other people were holding. Don't in your subject line put something like following up on your interest or pretending that we've talked about this before. That pisses me off to no end. I know whether we've talked before or not. Don't try this ploy with me like I've asked you for information on this or I've expressed interest in this. Your interest in this. I'm not interested in it. Don't tell me I am. It just annoys me. And then I don't like you because you're trying to pull a fast one on me. So we talked about following up with a phone call. This is a really good chance to have a second chance at pitching your story. So you want to give more information. You want to be able to address any questions or concerns the journalist might have. My PR friend who was doing PR for the Garden Club, one of the garden clubs is in Baltimore. And the column list, based on the president of this garden club calling up and saying, we really want publicity for this, can you give us publicity, was going to write a column about why should we pay attention to stupid things like garden clubs and garden tours when we have all these problems in Baltimore. So the PR guy had to go in and try and salvage this. His take was, okay, well, what can we do? How can we turn this column around so she doesn't write about this? And what he did was tried to find out, do they do any community work that will help Baltimore? So he had to do a bunch of phone calls and finally found out that yes, they do. They contribute to a bunch of Baltimore organizations. So he was able to call that columnist, tell her, well, it's not just a garden tour. These people also do these things for the city of Baltimore. And he thinks, it remains to be seen, that he helped turn that column around so it will be a positive one instead of a negative one.
What to do when rioters tear up your lettuce garden?
Let us help you.
If a journalist does respond to your pitch, which is what everybody dreams of, you want them to call you and say, hey, I really like this idea. We want to do a story on it. Yay. Make sure that you call back. They're PR people, and I've had to chase people down, and we usually don't do this, but sometimes I absolutely have to have that information. Make sure you call back immediately, because journalists are on tight deadlines. I've had people say, I could get to you in 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I have to finish this by tomorrow. 2 weeks doesn't help me. So there goes your opportunity to be mentioned in publication. And you've got to also tell the other people in your organization that if they get a phone call from a journalist, tell you immediately so you can follow up. That goes for everything from your receptionist to your president. Tell them, look, if you want media coverage, you got to respond to the journalists and you got to do it quickly. Then you have to follow through. If you tell a journalist, I can provide you this information, I can get you interviews with these people, make sure you really can. And don't give false information or misleading information. Don't say, there's going to be 3,000 people picketing tomorrow and then have 20 people, because you've just lost all credibility for the future. And you've got to be credible to a journalist or they're not going to come to you for information. You've got to be truthful. After the reporter has contacted you, done the interviews, call back up or email the person back up. Is there anything else you need? Is there any other information that I can provide to you? Or if you say, if they ask you these questions, you don't know the information, you say, I'll get that information to you. Do it right away. Follow through. After a story appears, 2 things. There's nothing wrong with saying thank you. Don't do it with a gift. Journalists can't accept gifts.
I just told him to send a nice gift.
Wondering.
No food, no cookies, no chocolate.
Chocolate, a mug.
Journalists aren't supposed to accept gifts.
Okay, well.
I wrote about one restaurant and he sent me bread and I ate it. But the News Journal, I know, they can't accept anything over $5 or something.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, they're very, most news organizations are very
It's the
strict.
ethical thing.
Yeah, it's the ethical thing. But you can say, thank you for your well-written article. Thank you for your accuracy and diligence in researching this article. Yeah, personal note or email. That's nice. And then you can help that journalist out in the future. Pay that person back, not with bribes, but with
Right.
but with giving them an exclusive, perhaps. When you've got a really big story, call them up first and say, hey, would you like an exclusive on this? Or tell them about other things they might be interested in, or other sources who can help them, even if you can't. So don't be thinking just about you, but how can I help the journalist so that the journalist will come to me again in the future? You don't have an expert at your bank who can talk about such and such a thing, but you do know of one at another organization. Pass the information on to the journalist, they'll appreciate it. But then don't inundate them with other press releases. Don't say, okay, I have a friend, now I'm going to get it. Every press release I ever write, I'm going to send to this person. Still make sure that it's targeted. Okay, that's what I prepared for you. I can go through more of these if you want to, that other people say, but it seems like maybe people have some questions.
We had a really great session of Q&A after that. It went for about 20 more minutes, and some of it's audible, some of it isn't, so I left it off. But you are always welcome to attend one of our live PR Breakthrough workshops and be present for the Q&As that follow all of the guests from the media that come to our sessions and give us lots of great information. If you would like to know more information about the PR Breakthrough and when the next workshop will be, please send me an email. And also, I would welcome you to read my blog. My blog is always full of helpful tips and tricks to help you launch successful PR campaigns. Thanks so much for stopping by today. It's been a pleasure sharing information with you, and I'll see you next time.